What's up, it's Ant Walker here with Ringside Intel, and let's talk about what we can do with the UFC 302 main card winners. In the main event, of course, Islam Makhachev was able to submit Dustin Poirier in the 5th round after a great fight. Now, what do you do with the lightweight champion? Well, there's several options on the table, so let's talk a little bit about each of those. Number one, Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan is the lightweight who has clearly established himself as the one who should be up next. Unfortunately, that's not the sexiest fight that's out there. The one that probably has the most sizzle will be Max Holloway, who just earned the BMF title by knocking out Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. The only issue there is that at the post-fight press conference, Dana White said that they were working on a BMF fight now, so we can assume that Max Holloway is in negotiations for someone else at the moment, which would take that off the table. So leading back to Arman Tsarukyan, however, Makhachev is looking toward welterweight for his next challenge, and he is trying to call out Leon Edwards, who's going to be taking on Belal Muhammad soon. Now, I don't particularly like that fight. I'd rather see Makhachev stick around at lightweight. This was the first time that he defended his belt against someone in his own weight class, so let's keep that moving. I say Arman Tsarukyan is next. Now, the less said about the co-main event, the better. Sean Strickland getting a very slow-paced decision win over Paulo Costa. As far as what you want to do with Sean Strickland in the future, this is a man who recently held the UFC's middleweight title. He still deserves to be in that conversation after picking up a win against a perennial contender. And in fact, he lost the belt in a very, very close decision. So he definitely deserves to still remain in that conversation. I think if he faces Robert Whittaker, who is scheduled to fight Khamzat Chimaev, that probably makes the most sense for him. I think Whittaker and Strickland can solve one another's problems, and that's granted if Whittaker gets past Chimaev, which is absolutely no guarantee. Whittaker is sort of in this strange no man's land after losing twice to Adesanya and recently getting finished by DDP. The winner of that fight probably doesn't make a lot of sense for him. I still would like to see a little more distance between him and those losses. So if you put him against Sean Strickland, another former champion, makes a lot of sense. Those names can bounce over each other very well and propel the winner of that into a future title shot. So if Chimaev does defeat Robert Whittaker, what do you do with Sean Strickland then? I think you should look toward the winner of Nasruddin Imavov and Jared Cannonier. Kevin Holland got a gruesome armbar finish over Mikhail Oleksiejczak as well on the main card. Now, what you do with Kevin Holland is going to depend a lot on what Kevin Holland feels like doing. He has typically gone up and down the scale between welterweight and middleweight. This was a return to middleweight. He said he'd be open to sticking around, but he also would be happy to go back down to welterweight as well, just depending on where the best fights were, where the money was. I want to say Paulo Costa might be the best option for him. That's a middleweight fight that I could get behind. I think the mix of personalities would be very interesting. It also wouldn't be very disruptive to the title picture. Kevin Holland should not be considered a true middleweight contender in my eyes. And Paulo Costa has sort of lost his way out of that position as well. So why not put them together? You can at least get something exciting out of it. Makes for a decent fight night main event, I'd say. So Kevin Holland versus Paulo Costa, and with Michel Pereira as a decent alternative. Nico Price got himself a decision win over Alex Morono. Very strange fight there as well. But I think for Nico Price, I'm feeling Kelvin Gastelum. I think that's a name that makes a lot of sense for him. Before we start singing the praises of Nico Price, I'm a little hesitant to push him much further in the division right now, considering that in his last fight, he lost to Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler on his retirement fight. Robbie Lawler that's years and years past his prime. So I'm not quite ready to throw Nico Price to the wolves and put him in there with some bona fide contenders. Kelvin Gastelum is a guy who could draw the sort of fight you want. He's also a guy who has this question mark about what his future is, and let's put them together and see what happens. Randy Brown sort of did the work for us after defeating Izzy Dos Santos. Jeff Neal, that's the name he called out in the post-fight interview, and that name makes a whole lot of sense. Randy Brown has gotten some good wins as of late and probably should get pushed further ahead. Jeff Neal ranked number 10 right now. I'm liking that. I'm liking Randy Brown advancing in the division. He's starting to put things together, and he looks fantastic out there. So let's put him out there and see what happens next. Now, I think if you're looking for alternatives, if Kevin Holland decides he wants to spin the block on welterweight, well, him and Randy Brown is a pretty cool fight to put together as well. And that will do it for UFC 302 main card matchmaking. So remember to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell that friend to tell 10 more friends. Stay locked in the Ringside Intel. I'm Ant Walker. Peace.